In 2024, organizations consolidated their SaaS apps by 53%. The biggest reduction we've ever seen. And when you look at what happened to apps like Wunderlist, Dark Sky, and Evernote between 2020 and 2025, the pattern is brutal. And here's what's crazy. 92% of SaaS companies fail within 3 years according to industry data. That's crazy. The apps most people think are safe might not make it. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you the 3 survival criteria every PKM tool must meet to make it to 2028, and which apps actually pass the test. I'll also give you the framework for choosing tools that won't disappear on you. If you've invested months building your knowledge system and you're worried about picking the wrong platform, stick with me. I've watched this market since 2016, and what I'm seeing now tells me everything about what's coming next. Let me paint you a picture. You spend 3 months migrating your entire knowledge base to a note-taking app. You learn the shortcuts, you build your templates, you customize everything perfectly. You've got 2,000 nodes, your whole system is humming. And then the company announces they are shutting down. Or they get acquired and the new owner kills your favorite features. Or they pivot to enterprise and suddenly you're paying 10x what you used to. This isn't hypothetical. It happened to Roam Research users when development basically stopped. It happened to Evernote users through multiple ownership changes. It happened to Bear users waiting years for basic features. And it's about to happen again on a much larger scale. Here's the thing, the note-taking market is estimated between $7 and $14 billion depending on which research firm you ask, with projections reaching to $23 billion by 2029. That sounds great, right? More money means more innovation. But here's what actually happens in every software market that goes through explosive growth. Consolidation. The big players start acquiring the small players. Venture capital runs out and suddenly 100 apps become 10 apps. And here's what we've actually seen. Wunderlist acquired by Microsoft and shut down in 2020. Dark Sky acquired by Apple and killed in 2023. Skiff raised 14 million from Sequoia, hit 2 million users, got acquired by Notion and shut down just 12 months later in 2024. Roam Research raised 9 million during its viral peak, but development has slowed dramatically. These aren't hypotheticals. These are real apps with real users that disappeared. But the real cost isn't just losing your tool. The real cost is losing your knowledge system. When an app shuts down, you don't just lose software, you lose your structure, your workflows, your muscle memory. You're starting from zero again. And if you build your entire productivity system around that tool's unique features, you're not just migrating nodes, you're rebuilding your entire approach to knowledge management. So why is this consolidation happening now? 3 reasons, and they are all accelerating. First, the AI arms race. Every note-taking app is now in a feature war to add AI capabilities. That requires massive capital. Industry data shows basic AI features cost $10,000 to $50,000 to build, while a generative AI MVP start at $50,000 to $100,000. Custom enterprise AI solutions can run $100,000 to $500,000 or more. Small teams can't compete. They either get acquired by someone with deeper pockets or they run out of runway. Second, the market is oversaturated. When you've got 100 apps competing for the same users, only the top players actually make sustainable revenue. Industry data tracking startup failures shows 92% of SaaS companies fail within 3 years. We are watching this play out in real time. Organizations consolidated their SaaS apps by 53% in 2024 alone. That's companies actively cutting tools they don't need. And here's what makes this worse. Most users are now on their 2nd or 3rd note-taking app. They are hesitant to commit, so these smaller apps can't even acquire the users they need to survive. It's a death spiral. Third, the enterprise pivot. When consumer apps struggle, they pivot to enterprise clients because that's where the money is. But here's what happens. They start building features you don't need. They raise prices. They complicate the interface. The tool you loved becomes bloated and expensive. The issue isn't that note-taking apps are bad. The issue is that most of them don't have a sustainable business model for the next 2 years. And if you're building your knowledge system on an app that won't exist in 24 months, you're building on quicksand. So here's the solution that changes everything. You need to evaluate every note-taking app against 3 survival criteria before you commit. I call this the sustainability framework. First, implement the revenue reality check. Ask yourself, does this app have a clear, profitable business model right now? Not promises, actual revenue. Apps that survive have one of 3 models: sustainable subscription revenue from over 100,000 plus users, enterprise contracts that fund development, or they're backed by a parent company with deep pockets. If the app you're using doesn't have one of these, it's vulnerable. Rome Research had hype but struggled with revenue. Obsidian has a clear freemium model with sync subscriptions. Notion has millions of paid users plus enterprise. That's the difference between risky and sustainable. Second, implement the export freedom rule. Your knowledge must be exportable to standard formats, plain text, markdown or JSON. If your notes are locked in a proprietary format, you're trapped. And when that app shuts down, you lose everything. This is why I always test export immediately after choosing a new tool. Can I get my notes out in a usable format? Can I move to another platform without starting over? Tools like Obsidian store everything in markdown files, completely portable. Tools that lock you in with proprietary formats are showing they don't expect you to leave. That should worry you. Third, implement the development velocity test. Look at the last 6 months of updates. Is the company shipping meaningful features regularly, or have they gone quiet? Consistent development means they have funding, they have users, they have momentum. When development slows down, that's your early warning signal. I track this by checking the changelog of the tools that I use consistently. If I see gaps longer than 60 days with no meaningful updates, I start preparing my exit strategy. Now let me tell you which 3 apps are positioned to survive through 2028. And that's my own prediction. Notion, because they've achieved massive scale with millions of paid users and enterprise contracts. Obsidian, because they build a sustainable community-driven model with local-first storage. And Heptabase. They've secured strategic funding, but they're already profitable and they're building for the long term with a clear niche. The others, they're vulnerable. Tana is incredible, but hasn't proven its business model yet. Logseek is open source, but needs sustainable funding. Rome Research is stagnant. Craft is beautiful, but really niche. Mem burned bright, but development has slowed. Although with Mem 2.0, they're trying to have a comeback. I'm not saying they'll definitely fail, but they don't pass all 3 tests. Here's what this means for you. Your methodology must be separate from your tools. This is what we teach in the ICOR methodology. Build your system around concepts, not features. That way, when apps fail, you migrate your nodes, but you keep your system. Full stop. Here's what changes when you implement this. You stop tool hopping based on hype. You choose platforms that will actually be around in 3 years from now. And you build knowledge systems that survive regardless of which apps fail. If you want to learn the ICOR methodology that makes you invincible against tool changes, grab our free ICOR Journey Starter Kit below. You get a 120-page PDF playbook, an 11-lesson course, magic slides and growth assignments. Everything you need to build a system that outlasts any tool. Completely free. Now, if you want to understand which AI features are actually worth your time versus which ones are just expensive distractions, check out the next video. I'll show you exactly what survived real-world testing and what didn't.